When my family came to America, we settled in Isle of Wight, Virginia, and there we befriended the natives called the Powhatan. But as the settlement grew larger, the relationship with the Powhatan soured, and so we moved south and east to what is called Scotland County, North Carolina. There we met the people of the land. They showed us where to hunt and where things grew. They also warned us of the dangers. The Cherokee believed in magic. There was white magic. That was magic used to help others and harm none. This was used by medicine men and holy men and healers. And then there was black magic. Black magic harms the individual or harms others. Now this magic is used by witches. And the most powerful of all these witches is called the Kalanda Aiello, raven mockers. Now the raven mockers actually steal someone's life. They kill them prematurely and then take all the hours and days and minutes they would have lived and add them to their own. The convention is normally to tell the story and let you figure out who the hero is. But I will break with convention and tell you that his name is Anawadi. He is a medicine man. He woke in the middle of the night, unsure what had roused him from his sleep. He listened, but the world was silent. He expected to hear the rustle of a passing fox, a grunting bear, or even the soft whisper of an owl's wings, but he heard nothing. And then he heard it, the sound of a diving raven, and a chill ran through his spine. For he knew that meant someone was dead or dying in the village. And so he rose quickly, not waking his sleeping wife, gathered up his bow and his medicine arrows, and went out the cabin door. And there he surveyed the skies, looking for some sign of the raven mocker's passing. And there he heard the raven mocker and saw a fiery shape the size of a man, somewhat resembling a raven if it were composed completely of fire and trailing sparks and embers. He thought quickly of who was sick in the village. Only Galilani, the beloved woman, had had a small cough the day before, and so he ran towards her cabin as fast as he had ever run in his life. While the Creator made all things beautiful, the raven mocker is a mixture of man and raven. Huge wings, feathers, the head of a raven, or perhaps a skull. Sometimes the spirit animal that was supposed to guide them from trouble is also mixed in. Hooved feet, birds' legs. They are, by all regards, an abomination mashed together. Unsure of what he would find inside the cabin, he knocked and entered. There he saw 4 raven mockers around the prone body of Galilani in her deathbed. Her widowed daughter was caring for her. To her he sternly said, "Drop." She knew who he was and what it meant for him to be present in the middle of the night, and so she did without thinking. He knocked his first arrow and fired. It struck the first raven mocker in the chest, and it howled in rage as it was driven back to its human body, hidden somewhere nearby. Now what you must know is, as it passed upward and went through the roof, it left only a small scorch mark. If you have ever stood next to a blazing bonfire that is tall as you, the heat pushing you back, when suddenly a log gives way and hot air rushes out in a flame, sparks and embers trailing, this is the sound of a raven mocker being pushed back or flying across the sky. If you've heard a gust of wind but seen nothing move, this is the sound of a raven mocker passing. The next raven mocker remained calm and slapped Galilani across the face so hard that it snapped her neck. His second arrow struck it in the arm. For this is how raven mockers killed people early. They poke, they prod, they beat, they terrify until the victim dies prematurely. This raven mocker escaped through the ceiling as well, leaving only a small scorch mark. The third raven mocker remained calm, pulling out a dagger and slipping it between Galilani's ribs, intent on cutting out her heart. He fired his third arrow. It hit it in the throat and was driven back, this time through the wall at the side. Now, what you must know is, if the heart is cut out, there will be no mark, there's no scar. There would be no bruises on the body from the pummeling that they were given. All that you will see is perhaps an indentation. The heart is simply missing, no marks. This is yet another way the raven mocker disguises its work. The fourth raven mocker simply stepped back into the shadow. Its tail, something like swirling clouds or mist or smoke, vanished, unmarked. He sighed and lowered his bow. The widowed daughter jumped to her feet and hugged her mother. It all happened so fast. She only had a cough an hour ago, and then she went downhill so quickly. It was like she was struggling for breath. Anawadi stood over the body, simply looked and said, "Pneumonia." He bade the daughter gather up her brother and his wife so that they might stand vigil until the morning. For if the raven mockers could steal the heart, they would. When morning came, they prepared the funeral for Galilani. Now, beloved woman means that she was of great importance to the village. She had a seat on the Council of Chiefs. She was head of the Women's Council, and she took care of all the prisoners. This was a great loss, and many people grieved. They dug the hole very deep, for once the people of the land are returned to the land, they are safe from the raven mockers. And to be sure, they put a heavy stone on top of her grave. Now, as he watched, he saw the grieving of all those people, and determination rose up within him. He decided no more would the raven mockers kill his people. No more would they take their lives and add it to their own. Anawadi was going raven hunting. First, he went to the Council of Chiefs, and he told them what his plan was, and they approved. And then he sent word to his wife that he would be traveling and that she should not worry. Next, he went to the spirit lodge and cleansed his own spirit. He prayed for a successful hunt, strength of the bear, cleverness of the fox, eyes of the eagle. And on the next morning, he began his search. He knew the raven mockers must be close by. They had responded within hours of finding out Galilani was sick. He circled the village once. He circled the village twice. And then he spied what he hoped would be a good sign. Praying for the eyes of the hawk and the nimbleness of a squirrel, he climbed the tree, and there he saw it, scorch marks passing in a direction. He climbed back down the tree and pursued. As he traveled, he came to a beautiful open field, a scene like many within the village. A cabin, an older man cutting wood for the fire, his woman washing clothes in the nearby stream. But as he approached, he saw the glowing of the first of the medicine arrows, and he recognized the raven mocker. The raven mocker was horrified. For a moment, all the years and hours and minutes writhed on his face in fear. For now, the black magic would turn against him. He would die within 7 days. His woman wept, fearing that she might be recognized, and then he saw it, the glowing on her shoulder. She too was a raven mocker. Anawadi cared little to kill them, so he simply fired arrows to drive them off, for he knew they would die. Next he turned west. There was a village within a week's travel he knew well, and they knew him, and so he went. When he arrived, there was already a commotion. A holy man was standing in the doorway of a cabin holding holy objects. He could not see the raven mockers, but he could sense the evil, and so he stood guarded in the doorway, trying to protect the two children with a high fever behind him. Anawadi came. When he entered the room, he saw the raven mocker standing in the back, waiting for his chance to strike yet again and take these children's what lives they must have. As he was preparing to fire his medicine arrow to mark him, again, The raven mocker stepped back, again the sound of wind blowing. This time Anawadi was ready. He chased him as fast as he could. He eventually saw a copse of trees in a circle, and inside it, over a small fire, an old man hunched over, so still and so quiet he might have been dead. Anawadi drew his regular arrow and fired, striking him in the heart. And as the old man fell over dead, the raven mocker spirit descending exploded into a shower of flame and spark. He returned to the village and told them of the raven mocker's death. They had had several unexplained deaths over the past 2 years, and the council of chiefs wanted to throw a feast in his honor, but he declined. There was still one raven mocker out there, one more taking lives unfairly. And so he left and traveled again. This time he traveled for 3 weeks, south and around, returning to his own village, but he discovered a new village where he was not well known. And here he found nothing from the Council of Chiefs that would suggest they were unexplained deaths. And as he was departing, he happened to notice a woman with a mark on her neck. The glowing medicine. She was disguised as a local tribe woman, and so he followed her. And where she hid was in a cave that's entrance was disguised so that it could be easily passed by. In fact, had he not been following her, he would have overlooked it quite easily. Since he wasn't well known, he returned to the Council of Chiefs, and they sent 2 braves with him. But as he entered the cave, now mind you, raven mockers are known for disguise. Not only was she disguised, but her home was disguised. All he found was spite and malice waiting for him. She drew her dagger and threw herself on it rather than be caught by the medicine man. And so he returned to his own village, heralded a hero. The Council of Chiefs of his own village told him that 2 bodies had washed up a week after he had left. The first 2 raven mockers had been destroyed by the black magic they wielded. From that point on, Anawadi was always present with the elderly, the sick, the dying, and the young to protect them from the raven mockers. Now, if you ever feel suddenly off, unexplained pains, difficulty breathing, check with your medicine man and make sure no raven mocker is trying to steal your spirit and add it to its own.